Hi, welcome to my most recent video. I put online the Black Star video last night, and there's got quite a lot of views on it. It was quite cool. But I had a request from a friend who follows the channel, who asked me to do a little review of this, the 5 years box from Bowie that came out in November. No, I don't know. It came out in September, October time. At the time, I didn't want to get it because I've got all the albums that are within, obviously, apart from the ones that are exclusive, and it's quite a lot of money. Got 2 young kids, can't really justify it. But then I got married in December, and the day before I got married, my now wife said there was a present for me, and there it was. Check that out. So I married her, of course, but also. I did do an unboxing video at the time, but for some reason the video corrupted, and of course then it was unboxed, so I couldn't do one of those. But I thought I'd just take you through the contents of this box because it is fantastic. I'm really impressed, and if I'm honest, since I got it, which was just the second week of December, I pretty much have exclusively played the records that are in this, and apart from the Black Star that arrived the other day as well. So there it is. It's lovely. It came with a sheet. Attached to it, which has got the content, so that's if it's on the shelf you can see kind of what's in it, but you don't need to pay too much attention to that. But that was just kind of on the back like that, and inside, really sturdy cardboard, that you've got a stack of wax, loads and loads of them. As well as this, if you ordered it from the official website, I think you have to be quick. I don't know how many they did, but they did do an exclusive pressing, which my other half did actually order. So I got the exclusive kind of thing as well. So really quickly, this one is, there you go. It's a 10-inch. It's a one-sided 10-inch called Pinups Radio Show, and it's a radio session that Bowie did to, I think it was to advertise the Pinups album. And so basically, it's him talking about the songs that he's covered, and then there's little excerpts of it and stuff. I have had a quick listen to it, although if I'm honest, it was kind of in the background. So yeah, so that's that. It looks like the Pinups cover with that lovely font, and then it's got just the word radio show. I think that's right. So inside, it's still quite heavy for a 10-inch. It's heavier than a lot of the 12 inches I've got downstairs from the 80s for sure. We've got, it's one-sided, so if you can see there in the light, that's got nothing on it, and then this side, lots of stuff on it, so you can see that. What I really like, and this is a theme throughout the whole box, is actually, you see the word Bowie there written. It's in the same font as the RCA company that he was recording for at the time. So whereas Parlophone, who've released this, who are owned by what, Capital? I'm not sure. But they, rather than just putting their own label on, they've replicated the original labels. But obviously they can't use the word RCA. And there's also Philips and Mercury. They can't do that legally. So they've recreated the font, which I thought was a really good touch. Let's just pop this one away. Cool. So let's just have a quick look through this box. And I won't dwell on each of the albums really laboriously. I'll just have a quick look to show you what's going on. I've had a good look at all of them, so I'm quite happy. So the first off is this one, self-titled, just called David Bowie. It was re-released as Space Oddity a few years afterwards. I think this was 1969. It's actually his second album. His first album was released on DRAM, a subsidiary of Decca, in 67 or 68, something like that, which I've got a copy of downstairs. They actually repressed that last year, stereo and a mono. Prefer the mono version myself, but maybe I'll review that if people want me to. So here we go. It's a nice matte finish. There we go. All the original artwork. When it was re-released as Space Oddity, it had a much bigger close-up picture with I think it's down this corner, pink writing. And then inside we've got all the words. It's quite an acoustic-y kind of album. A lot of people call this his hippie stage. He certainly looked like that, long hair and all sorts. A lot of the musicians on here he didn't work with ever again, and it was originally pressed on Philips, so you can see that's the Philips font, but it says the word Bowie. Obviously, big hit off that one is Space Oddity. Actually, the Space Oddity in here was a re-record. He actually recorded it for DRAM a few years before, and if you can track down that version on YouTube, it's actually quite interesting. I think it's different from from the later one. Okay, so what's next? I'm working the albums here in chronological order. So the next album that came was The Man Who Sold the World. So this has got kind of a textured matte cover. Absolutely lovely. It's not a gatefold like the original was. And this was originally released on Mercury. And if you've got an original Mercury pressing with this cover on it, you've probably got quite a lot of money in your hand, so you might want to consider selling it. To me, which would be nice. So yeah, on the back there. So this is a famous dress cover. That's him in the 1970, I think. I think it's 1970, wearing a dress on the front cover of an album, unknown. This was recorded with a band called The Hype, which was Tony Visconti, Mark Ronson, and was it Woodmansey? Yeah, Woodmansey on drums, with some other people. They called themselves The Hype very briefly, and then after this album they didn't write anymore. Actually, most of the music on here is written by Visconti and Mick Ronson, but yeah, it's still one of my top 5 Bowie albums, actually. There you can see, there's the Mercury label. Quite heavyweight pressings. This sounds amazing. I love the sound of it. Slightly more arranged than the first album. It's got All the Madmen, which is one of my favourite Bowie tracks, written about his brother, with a recorder solo on it. A little bit proggy in places. I just think it's fantastic. I think it's an underrated album. I think it's and it's one that everybody should give a listen to. Yeah, so that's that one. No singles taken off that album, which I found strange because there's some cracking songs on there. So the next album, chronologically wise, is Hunky Dory, one of his most famous albums. There we go, very famous cover. What I love about this pressing is that they've recreated every detail. So it's really shiny, laminated cover, but on the back it's matte. But if you can see, if I can get it, around the edges they've got this laminate strip down that side. I've got a first pressing of this downstairs, and it is exactly the same, although it's slightly worn because it's a lot older than this. So yeah, so this one's got all the hits on it. Changes, Are You Pretty Things, Life on Mars. Actually, one of the really good tracks on this is the last track of side A. It's called Quicksand. It's quite reflective, actually. It's beautiful, which I love. So we've got the original insert there, recreated, and again, here we go. This is his first album for RCA, and you can see, like I said earlier, it's got Bowie. I'm not going to get them out the thing. The interesting thing that they've also done with all of these, and I haven't got them out yet, and they've given you the original kind of inner sleeves that the original album would have come in. So the Philips one's got a little box on it and whatnot. It's just a paper sleeve. I think they're doing it for authenticity. There's no practical reason for it, because I've got these more modern anti-static inner bags with all of them in. These weren't shrink wrapped or anything like that. They were just loose in the box, but then they're quite a tight fit. So again, this sounds amazing. This I think it's remastered. Sounds great. Certainly comparable to the original pressing, if not slightly exceeding it. I'm not sure whether that's because the vinyl itself is new rather than a 40-year-old copy. Okay, next up, it's the big one. Okay, so this is the album I remember dancing around my living room to when I was about 5 or 6. I remember very distinctly. Iconic front cover. What I love is that if you look at this, there's a light there. There's somebody sat in there probably filing their papers or sitting, having a cigarette, listening to the radio or something. They are in an iconic album cover, one of the iconic album covers, but they have no idea, and they probably never did or do. So in the back, he's in his red telephone box. Don't know what to say about this album. At the minute, Moon Age Daydream, third track on side A, it's my favourite Bowie track at the minute. I'm working my way through his back catalogue. Since he died at the weekend, it's now going to be an obsessive trawl through everything he's got, probably for the rest of the year. So, same deal again. The original inner bag recreated. So we've got the pictures of the spiders. That's Bowie. You can't really tell. I think it's a really interesting picture. And then all the lyrics on the back. So that is as the original would have reached you, which is very cool. And what I love about this album cover actually is having only got an old copy of it, which is actually the copy I was dancing around the living room to when I was 5 years old. What's really interesting is the vivid and vibrant colours that are actually on the sleeve. It's really loud. It's really shouty. It's a really shouty cover, even though the subject matter isn't particularly massively interesting, so to speak. but the way it's done with the overlays of colour, you know, having a brand new version of it, you can really tell how it would have looked on the shop floor in 1972. Okay, so the next album that came out. Oh no, wait, no, this is the other one. Okay, so as well as that, this is an exclusive for this box, certainly on vinyl, I think. You get another copy of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, and just start to pull out of it, which is a 2003 mix. There we go. So it's pretty much the same picture. However, it's move that out of the way. It's treated in the same way. So that's that person sitting in their office again down there. But it's a different photo from that shot. So you can actually see. I think that's a Cortina, an old Ford Cortina in the corner, which you couldn't tell in the one. It just looks like a car. I love that. That's brilliant. Look at the colours. It's great. And on the back, he's not in the phone box. He's loitering outside. Yes. So inside, again, we've got the same label. Kind of do again. This is a 2003 remix. Not remix as in they've rewritten the songs. They've just stripped them right back and built them back up again. And actually, I'm really getting into this mix at the minute. I'm really enjoying it. I think the vocals are slightly lower, less in your face, but actually Mick Ronson's guitars are a little bit louder. And there's lots of light in Starman. There's this ascending line in the middle of the chorus that I haven't heard, or I probably just took for granted, but in this it's a little bit louder, and actually it really kicks. So that's the inner bag just there. So you can see, I think that they're all different pictures. This is the original. This is this one. So you can see they've really thought about the way that they present it, rather than just chucking it out in the same old sleeve, but just with a different disc inside. They've actually made it a little bit unique. I think this mix was. I think it was released on CD. I don't know if it was released on vinyl. If I'm honest, if it was. I'm unawares of it, and please let me know if I'm wrong. I'm only human after all. Okay, so the next one is probably the most iconic album cover that Bowie ever created, if not the world. It's Aladdin Sane. It's on the back, there we go. As the original, it's great. Vinyl again, it is much of a muchness. Obviously the music on it's amazing. The pressing itself is clean as a whistle. It sounds fantastic. There's the inner bag there. Okay, as the original. There's no vinyl in that. Like I say, they've given you the extra inner bags. The other thing that they gave you in this one, which I think is really cool, is this piece of card here. So that's not my writing. That was already on it. This is an application form for the David Bowie fan club, and actually I've got a copy of this in my copy downstairs that sits on my shelf. My original copy, which is filled in by somebody. So it's a really nice touch. Like I said, I think earlier, they've really gone for authenticity with this, and I'm really impressed. One other thing that's worth mentioning, similar way to the Ziggy Stardust album, actually, it's interesting putting this next to my original version, because this is bright white. I mean, this is actually, I don't know if you can tell on the video, but it's bright white. Whereas my other one is slightly off-white, kind of creamy coloured, a little bit, yucky milk colour. And so with the real clarity of it, you can see every detail. But it's interesting. I don't know if when this came out, it was on bright white like this, or if it was slightly off-white. Because every copy I've seen, old copies, seem to be off-white. So, but I think it looks great. It's so bright. Oh, I forgot to show you the inside. There we go. That's it's a beaut. And then the final album, as such, is Pinups. This isn't an album which gets a lot of great reviews. It's an album full of covers, essentially, which wasn't what Bowie was about. But there we go. I think that's Twiggy, and that's Bowie looking amazing. And on the back, so I think the only one that they took off this, what was it? I can't even remember now. I don't know. Again, plain white bag. Is it necessary? Don't really necessarily think so. There we go. Sorry is the one. Sorry, I forgot. Is the single that was the main thing that was taken off that. But there's some interesting songs on there. And actually, having listened to the radio show, you get a little bit more of an insight into what his choices were all about. I think that radio show, it's an exclusive vinyl copy, but I'm pretty sure if you typed it into YouTube, somebody's probably uploaded it there as well. Blinking YouTubers making videos all the time. What are they thinking? Struggling with this. Here we go. Okay, nice and gentle. Okay, I'll sort that in a minute. That's fine. Big stack of Bowie accruing. Okay, so then I've got 2 live albums. I won't spend long on these ones. I'll just quickly whiz through them because I'm 15 minutes already. So I've got Live in Santa Monica. This one sounds raw and great, according to one of my friends. I haven't actually spun this one yet. I've been so taken aback by all of these ones. They just keep getting spun. This one is one that I'll come to. I think this needs to be one that I will listen to. It's a double disc. So I'll show you one of those discs in a minute. I think it's one that I need to listen to all 4 sides in one sitting. So nice glass of whiskey, bottle of whiskey. So there we go. That's probably from the gig itself, and then some artwork on the back. Same again for the other disc. So there's 2 inner sleeves, and then there's the 2 vinyls in just anti-static bags, which is great. And you see the label there is an original label. There you go. Like that. Cool. Like I say, I haven't got around to listening to that one yet, so I will look forward to that. However, when I've got an evening to myself, that will be the flavour. The next one, and this is the one I've dipped in and out of because I know this quite well. I've got a CD copy of this from a few years ago. This is the Ziggy Stardust, the motion picture. Yeah. Really lovely laminated cover, and we've got on there. So you've got Rock and Roll Suicide right at the end. That's where he announces. This is all recorded at the Hammersmith Apollo, which is a big old cinema in is it East London? West London. It's in West London, just by the big flyover. Big old cinema, which is a venue. Lots of famous people played there. They do a comedy show there called Live at the Apollo. There we go. So it says at the top there, Hammersmith Odeon. When was that? 1973, 3rd of July. I was minus 10 years old at that point. Just to make you all feel super old if you don't already. So yeah, that's an iconic live show that they've created. Now I remember this came on CD in 2001, something like that, and I bought a copy of it fairly near to that. I actually worked in a record shop at the time, so there's only a few copies of that came in. That is a joy, an absolute joy, and it sounds great. It sounds like you're actually sitting in the front row. Okay, the final discs are this one here, which is called Recall 1. Again, they've used the RCA font, which is really cool. I love that picture. I would suggest that is, I'd say that's probably Ziggy Sessions. It's not a gatefold, but it's got 2 discs in there. You can see it on the back here. So this has got all the rarities and unreleased stuff. So Space Oddity original UK mono single edit. That's what I was talking about earlier. Wide-Eyed Boy from Free Clad. That's one of the. I think it's the last track on the first album. These are all kind of single edits, so they're shortened versions. There's some stuff. Conversation piece is just some talking. It's quite interesting. Yeah, and all the Madmen mono single edit is they cut the bit in the original where he's kind of talking. It's a poem that he says. I think it's quite nice. I think it fits the piece. It sounds like part of the piece to me. So that feels like it's got something missing. But if you're going to release it as a single in 1970, that's probably going to be slightly bigger or more attractive to somebody to buy it. So yes, lots and lots and lots of they're not demos, which I quite like, because if they're demos, they're just rough and ready and they're not going to sound great. So what he's done, Bowie, when he's ordered this or approved it, he's made sure that these are all quality recordings rather than just cutting room floor outtakes and stuff. And then the last thing in the box is a big old book. There we go. I won't do every page of the book, but I'll show you vaguely how it works. So I've read this through already. It's brilliant. It's lovely. Basically, they take an album. There's the forward. So they take an album, that one there, and then there's just all the recording and publishing information, and then the musicians and all that kind of stuff. So there's nobody on. Oh, Herbie Flowers plays bass. Who knew? Famous jazz bass player. Who knew that? And then there's an interview with Tony Visconti, who I think engineered it, about it. That's the version that I've got downstairs. Same track list. And then there's all kinds of different artifacts from the album. Reviews from the time of the album. So this is an actual. I think this is. Yeah, that's a review. I don't know what it's from. Is it from NME? Oh, the Disc and Music Echo, 25th of October 1969. A couple more pictures from around about that time, and then we're on to The Man Who Sold the World. There's the American cover of Memory Sold the World. The version I've got downstairs is this one, and so it takes you through all of the albums, bit by bit like that. So it shows you kind of quite a lot of detail. And then towards the back, it's quite nice. You've got all the different test label pressings. It's for massive nerds like me, but it's interesting stuff if you like it. For those of you that just like David Bowie want to listen to it, you don't have to read this book really, but it's a nice accompaniment. So if you're listening to an album, it's nice to read about it while you're listening. So overall, this box here. I got it in December and I'm still blown away by it now. The quality of the pressings is so very high. They sound amazing. I'm only comparing to my old original pressings of all the albums, so there might be an age deterioration going on, like I said, but to my ears they sound pretty special. The book's great. The new material on the recall and the live discs, apart from one I haven't listened to yet, it sounds great, and so I highly recommend it. They've gone for authenticity, and I think they've got it. Feel free to subscribe and follow Twitter and all that stuff. But for now, thank you for watching, and you should go and buy this.